My last semester at a certain college, I was assaulted by a football player for walking where he was trying to drive. While unconscious on the ground, I lived a different life. I met a wonderful young lady. She made my heart skip and my face red. I pursued her for months and dispatched a few jerk boyfriends before I finally won her over. After 2 years we got married, and almost immediately she bore me a daughter. I had a great job and my wife didn't have to work outside of the house when my daughter was 2. My wife also bore me a son. My son was the joy of my life. I would walk into his room every morning before I left for work and doted on him and my daughter. One day while sitting on the couch, I noticed that the perspective of the lamp was odd, like inverted. It was still in 3D, but just wrong. I was transfixed. I couldn't look away from it. I stayed up all night staring at it. The next morning I didn't go to work. Something was just not right about that lamp. I stopped eating. I left the couch only to use the bathroom at first. Soon I stopped that too, as I wasn't eating or drinking. I stared at the lamp for 3 days before my wife got really worried. She had someone come and try to talk to me. By this time my cognizance was breaking up and my wife was freaking out. She took the kids to her mother's house just before I had my epiphany. The lamp is not real, the house is not real, my wife, my kids, none of that is real. The last 10 years of my life are not fucking real. The lamp started to grow wider and deeper. It was still inverted dimensions. It took up my entire perspective and all I could see was red. I heard voices, screams, all kinds of weird noises, and I became aware of pain. A fucking shit ton of pain. The first words I said were, "I'm missing teeth," and opened my eyes. I was laying on my back on the sidewalk, surrounded by people that I didn't know. Lots were freaking out. I was completely confused. At some point, a cop scooped me up, walked me across the sidewalk and grass, and threw me face down in the back of a cop car. I was still confused. I was taken to the hospital by the cop and given CT scans and shit. I went through about 3 years of horrid depression. I was grieving the loss of my wife and children, and dealing with the knowledge that they never existed. I was scared that I was going insane, as I would cry myself to sleep, hoping I would see her in my dreams. I never have, but sometimes I see my son, usually just a glimpse out of my peripheral vision. He is perpetually 5 years old, and I can never hear what he says. This is pretty creepy. I have a similar one to tell. I used to get bronchitis often, and one time it was particularly bad. I had friends checking in on me, making sure I took my meds regularly, and one friend made a lot of echinacea tea and made sure I drank it regularly. I have no memory of this time. During that time, I lived a completely different life. It wasn't 10 years though, just a few weeks. Up until I got sick, I was very unhappy with life in general. Very depressed a lot of the time, and even suicidal. My best friend had died recently, and basically my whole life sucked and I could not find ways to fix it. During these few weeks where I was out, I managed to find ways to fix most of these problems. My friend even came back. I was super happy, met a great girl, huge promotion at work. Everything was better. One afternoon, my friend and I were hanging out at our favorite bar, and I realized I hadn't shown him any of the tattoos I got while he was dead. I went to show him the one I got in memorial of him, and it was literally dripping off my skin, as were all the other tattoos I had gotten since his death. At that point it occurred to me that he was dead, that I somehow had a child with this woman I had met a few weeks ago, and that the bar we were in was abandoned and empty, and lined with cobwebs, which I had noticed before, but it didn't seem weird until just that moment. That whole existence ends there in that abandoned bar. No more story there. I assume this is when I started walking around on my own again, but I still have no memory of that either. In fact, I have no memory of anything for a week after I woke up and started walking around again. During that week, my friends tell me I didn't speak or make eye contact, rarely ate in front of anyone. I have no memory of any of this. My first memories kick back in while I'm at work. It was difficult to cope with this, to finally get all this weight off my shoulders and finally be happy again. To finally put that part of my life behind me was the best feeling I've ever experienced. And then to wake up and find out that's not real is hard. It's hard to accept as reality. Every night you go to bed expecting to wake up in that dream world and learn that bad world was actually the dream. Never happened. This was 3 or 4 years ago now. Sometimes when I'm really stressed out, little pieces will creep into dreams. The dripping tattoos, for example. But the one that haunts me the most is every now and then, I will have a dream where I'm on the couch with my son and my wife is in the kitchen doing something. The phone rings and I answer, and it's my current girlfriend. She asks what the noise is, and I say, "That's my son." And as soon as I say that, it becomes obvious to me that she isn't the mother and she's not my wife in the kitchen. Then I wake up.